languages. So, for example, a noun is found in English as well as Greek and as well as Hebrew. In this section, we'll look at the function of each of these categories, as well as examples and illustrations, and show you how you can use this information to use some of the tools in Logos, like visual filters. A noun identifies a person, place, object, or idea. Here are some examples: John, desert, honey, and forgiveness. And here's an illustration from English. The boy studied grammar in school. In this sentence, boy and grammar and school are the nouns. And an example or illustration from Mark 1:6. He, John the Baptizer, ate locusts and wild honey. In this sentence, locusts and honey are the nouns. A verb describes an action or state. Here are some examples: go, see, say, know. In our first illustration, the girl studied grammar in school. The word studied is the action word. In our second example, he, John the Baptizer, ate locusts and wild honey. In this sentence, ate is the verb. It describes the action. An adjective gives more information about a noun. Here are some examples: blue, good, bad, small, and big. In our first illustration, the diligent boy studied ancient grammar at the prestigious school. In this sentence, diligent, ancient, and prestigious give more information about the nouns that they're connected to. And here's our second illustration from the Bible. He, John the Baptizer, ate locusts and wild honey. In this sentence, wild tells us something more about the word honey. An adverb gives more information about an action or state. Examples of adverbs: quickly, very, and not. In illustration number 1, the girl diligently studied grammar in school. The word diligently tells us something more about the verb studied. In illustration number 2, news about him spread quickly over the whole region of Galilee. The adverb quickly tells us something about how the news spread. An article identifies a particular noun. In English, we have two. The first is the indefinite article, a, sometimes spelled an, when it appears in front of a word that begins with a vowel, and the definite article, the. In our first illustration, the boy studied grammar at a school. The is the definite article that identifies the boy, and a is the indefinite article that modifies school. In our second illustration, and they called the blind man, the is the definite article that identifies the blind man. A conjunction connects words and groups of words. Examples of conjunctions are and, but, therefore, in order that, or because. In our first illustration, the boy and girl studied in order to pass the test. The first conjunction and links together the boy and the girl as the ones performing the action of the verb studied. And in order to links together the first sentence, the boy and girl studied, to the next sentence, pass the test, indicating their reason or purpose for studying. In illustration number 2, I died to the law so that I might live for God. So that links together the first group of words, I died to the law, to the second group of words, I might live for God, indicating the reason or purpose for dying. A preposition is a word that expresses the relationship between two or more words. Here are some examples: in, for, with, to, and by. In the first illustration, the girl studied Greek in school. In expresses or indicates where the action of the verb studied took place. In illustration number 2, and the word was with God, the preposition with indicates the relationship between word and God. We can take the information we learned about the parts of speech and apply it to visual filters and apply it to searching so that we can see the differences between English and Greek. First, let's open a Bible. Let's go up to the command bar and type in the letters ESV to open up our English Standard Version. Now remember that even though we're looking at the English here, these English words are linked back to the Greek, and that in the morphology line below, in the reverse interlinear pane, that this morphology, this annotation as to the form of the word, refers to the Greek and not to the English. And now when we apply the visual filters, they're going to be looking at the forms or morphology of the Greek and not the English. Now because it does this, we're going to be able to see the differences between Greek and English. Let me show you what I mean. Let's create a visual filter. Go up to File, click on Visual Filter, and make sure we select Morph because we're looking for forms of the word. And let's keep all passages. And let's change resources to ESV. And since we're working with Greek, we want to choose the Logos Greek morphology. And into the Find box, let's type an @ symbol, and that brings up the parts of speech drop down, and you'll recognize some of these from the slides that we went over. Now if you forget the definitions of those parts of speech or these categories of words, you can simply float over and you'll get a brief definition. For right now, let's click on Article, and you'll notice some other categories come up. We're not going to worry about these yet. Just select Article for now, and we need to choose the formatting, and let's go ahead and pick orange for our formatting. And now back over here in the ESV, we can see words highlighted. Now before we learn that in English, a or an is an indefinite article, and the in English is the definite article. But look what we have here. We have the highlighted, the looks pretty good, but for some reason, the English over here, the isn't highlighted. You notice some other things, that days is highlighted, and God, and Jesus. But then the question comes up, why is Jesus highlighted? Well, if we select that word, and now looking down at the reverse interlinear pane, you can see that the Greek article, ha, is actually attached. You'll see that the Greek article appears before the name Jesus. In Greek, it's actually fairly common for the article to appear with a proper name. Now, if we were to translate this very literally, it would read, and the Jesus answered him. But we don't use the article that way in English. The use of the Greek article is far more sophisticated than the use of our English article, and so sometimes you'll see instances like this, where words will be highlighted in English that are nouns, but it's because they have, in Greek, the article along with the noun. I'll get into more of the functions and uses of the Greek article in the section on the article. But for now, this just gives you an idea as to how Greek and English differ. Now, at the beginning of the previous video, I mentioned that searching is another area where you could use the information you gathered on parts of speech. Now, if we go up to Search, I already have it opened here and configured to Morph, selected my range of New Testament, the resource I want to be searched, as well as the morphology. Now, for this example, I just want to limit it a bit more to 1 John. And let's just save the range here. And in the same way we chose the different parts of speech in the visual filter, let's type an @ symbol. That brings up the drop-down. And for this example, let's choose verb. Now, you can see the rest of the options appear to us. We're not going to worry about these at the moment. We just want to pick verb for now. Now, what this search is going to do is it's going to find every verb in 1 John. Usually when we think of searching the Bible, we think of searching for particular words, like grace or faith. But with the morphology search, you can search for parts of speech or categories of words. And I'll show you something really cool that you can do with the analysis search view. Now let's go ahead and click the arrow here to start a search. And in the verses view, you can see